Okay. This is HCH.
Ollie's on.
He's become so crotchety.
He has been.
Hey, Truman?
Truman.
He's good. There's yours.
All right. Let's see. He's 9 o'clock. We ready?
Yeah.
All right. Call the meeting to the City of Griffin Board of Commissioners. Fall meeting October 27, 2022 at Historic City Hall. Welcome. And we welcome our guests. So approve the agenda as presented. Do we have a motion to approve? So motion by Mr. McCord.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Flowers. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right. Is there a need for executive session?
I don't believe there is at this time. I think if we can get through 2 and 3, then, and y'all are okay with the way that they are presented, then we do not need executive session.
Okay. We'll skip past number 1. So item 2 is left on the table and consider a lease agreement between the City of Griffin and the County of Spalding to volunteer park and park the city park, identified as Watkins Field, the gymnasium, the property to the west of and adjacent to the gymnasium, commonly referred to as the skate park, Beck Field, the pavilions and playgrounds and other grounds not to include the golf course, the clubhouse, any structure or areas associated with the golf course. And I guess associated with public works as well. We need to add
Yeah,
that.
so well, we just left it because the motion at our meeting
Okay.
last time was that, and so I'll
Okay, so a
address-
motion will lift from the table with a motion. So motion by Commissioner Tinsley, second by Commissioner Flowers. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, so go ahead.
All right, at our Tuesday night meeting, the lease agreement that we had, I had sent to Ms. Wyndham and did not realize when I sent it to her from 2020, that this was at the time that we were trying to negotiate the location of the aquatic center. So Schedule B for City Park showed 2 different parcel numbers. One is what we sort of consider City Park, which is where the skate park and Watkins Field and all the gymnasium and stuff are, but also includes the tennis courts and the center sort of island where the big rock is and a couple of the playground equipment. That's the first parcel, which is 047010027. There was a second parcel on there, which was Camp Northern, sign shop, street department, water, wastewater. So we do not want to give that at this time for lease because we still have our employees out there. At the time, we were talking about moving them to the Public Works and Utilities building and then putting the pool at the top of that hill. So we've removed that parcel number and then also made it more clear to say that less than accept any of the golf course and its structures because the bottom part of the parking lot is included in that parcel, but we are accepting that. And of course, the real estate attorney says she knows that that's okay to do it that way. And then the pool is not part of that parcel, but just because everything else is really sort of included, we wanted to make sure we said accept the pool as well, which will give us, then we need to come back and make a decision on the pool. If we're getting to where they're pretty much taking the park, I think that it's our time to say, okay, we need to make a decision about the pool. So this is everything. This is tennis courts, pavilions. We did look at some of those. We budgeted $7,000 for pavilion rental this year, so that revenue would then change to the county. And they will be responsible for the utilities at the park, which they already have some of those utilities anyway. We will just transfer anything else out there, which is mainly just tennis court lights. So the metering we realized yesterday is a little odd, always has been. That's not changing. It's just that we're trying to make it a little bit better understood. I think there were 2 meters that they currently have for water and
I assume that same like we have with Park at 6, if we have an event or function that we're doing, that we partner with that and like we did the street cleanup out there, if the city needs it, then
yes.
with their permission, we can.
Sure, the restroom facilities and all of that, of course.
Yes, so that is that agreement, if you have any questions or anything in that regard.
So we're going to go ahead and approve that then? So I'd like to make, do we have a motion to accept and consider the lease agreement with those amendments that have been mentioned with staff's recommendation? So motion of Commissioner Tinsley, second. Second by Mr. McCord. Any other discussion? All in favor, please signal by saying aye. Okay.
All right, sorry, go ahead.
Next is consider an intergovernmental agreement between the city of Griffin, Spalding County for the services of animal care and management. And so do we need to lift that from the table or?
No, we did not have it on the agenda last time because we knew we still had concerns. This is not a lift from the table. This is a new agreement. I did label it animal care and management because we were not sure exactly where we would end up. But what we have decided is that we will keep animal control. So the 2 officers that we currently have will remain with the city. But we are asking that they be trained. We are agreeing in our IGA that they have 6 months to get that training. This is for level 1 and 2 National Animal Control Officer Certification, which is through National Animal Care and Control Association. There are some intake procedures that would still be considered an animal control function that they would need to participate in order to put an animal in the shelter. At which time the animal shelter would remain a countywide service. So they will provide us with those SOPs. It's something that they are currently doing, but are still trying to get into writing. And we will make sure that we abide by those. A lot of it is just sort of scanning for chips and electronic devices in case we can locate an owner, taking the picture, giving some very just brown 50 pounds male, and then putting them in the quarantine cell. The big change, and I think where most of the sort of headache has come from the county from our end, is the ability to diagnose the dog as having potentially parvo or some kind of illness that might contaminate the facility or be injured. So the way that we would like to handle that is by saying that will be the county's decision at this point. We will put them in quarantine. They decide if it needs to go to the vet, and we're going to pay them an annual sum for vet services. Dr. Ledbetter and Tyler White, who's in control of the animal shelter now, did yeoman's work all through the night to get us an appropriate number for what that looks like in vet services. Right now is about a little over $1,000. So we have put within the agreement that we will pay them annually $1,000 for those services, but that at each year they can come back and say it has jumped up to 4 or 5, and we would have to agree in writing that that is a reasonable amount to be paid. But at that point, it takes that burden off of our officers to say whether or not they need the vet services. It is up to the county to decide. Is that succinct and accurate?
Question.
Yes.
The training, is the city gonna pay for the employees to have that
Yes,
training?
that'll be our responsibility.
And that training is online?
Yes, I think it's a 40-hour course.
20 hours for part 1 and 20 hours for part 2 was what I saw online.
Yes.
I make a motion that we consider there's agreements between the city and Griffin and Sparta County for the service of animal care and management.
We have a motion from Commissioner McCord, second by Commissioner Tensley. Any other discussion?
Question.
Go ahead, ma'am.
There was also some concern about their ability to regulate or remediate if our employees are not following the policy.
Yes, so thank you, I was gonna try and mention that too. So once we receive the SOPs from the county in regards to our intake at the animal shelter, it will be adopted in part of our job description. So if our employees do not follow that, the same kind of discipline that they would receive for any other SOP violation or any other job description violation will be implemented, because we are saying that is now part of your job responsibility as an animal control officer for the city. So you would go through the same verbal, written reprimand, suspension, termination if they got to that point if they did not abide by those policies. So it will be consistent within our policy, and I think it's pretty consistent with what they have in their personnel policy as well.
And in order to keep things consistent, something that I would like to do is communicate with the county as well as Chief Yates and see if we can get a training together for those SOPs, so that we can all be on the same page. I will personally attend those as well, so that if we do have any employment stuff and there are any discrepancies, if we need to handle these through conference and figure out, okay, well, here's what we were taught, here's what the training was, we can make sure we're all on the same page on where we're going wrong. And I personally also welcome communication between the county and the city manager and Chief Yates, specifically for reporting any issues that we have, so that we can fix them as we're going along, rather than have an issue that tends to, it's gonna boil over or create any default there.
What input are we going to have as far as the development of those SOPs go and our acceptance of them?
It's really just for the intake purposes at the shelter. So if they want us to do certain things at the shelter, then that's what we need to do. Obviously within reason, but I don't see with those couple little steps that are needing to occur now, I can't imagine anything else can be.
If it is the same thing that the county employees are responsible for doing at the shelter,
Right.
I have absolutely no issue, and in fact encourage our people to follow the same exact procedures. Now, if it turns out that there is some inequity there between the city employee and a county employee, then again, that's something that we can settle by conference and say, here's where our issues are, how do we develop more consistency?
And it will be the same operating procedures. We're just in the process of putting those procedures, putting pen to paper and getting all those things in writing.
Make a motion.
We already got motions, but we second by Mr. Tensley. Anything else? All in favor, please signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay. And I want to thank Commissioner Flowers for meeting with Commissioner
Other
Taylor.
Flowers,
Where I know it's a for the team, but thank you so much for your efforts in that and getting that worked out.
You are welcome.
Item 4 is lift from the table and consider adoption of the 2022 service delivery strategy. Approve Spalding County to submit the required documents to the Georgia Department of Community Affairs and authorize the mayor and the city manager to execute such resolution and the documentation necessary to effectuate the same. City Manager Jessica Connor will address. Do we have a motion to lift from the table? So Mr. Tensley with motion, second by Mr. McCord. All in favor, please signal by saying aye. Okay.
All right, so when we had this, last time it was just a resolution. Dr. Ledbetter and I met yesterday and went over a couple of just sort of the, I would say, more clerical stuff in the Form 2s, where we needed to add some maps, which we were working on today, and where we needed to put in, like we weren't listed as providing for GIS, we just got to add City of Griffin. So those things which he has, and I think it's probably already done, I'm sure. So he asked if we would do a joint resolution, because they don't have to draft one too. So this is now a joint resolution between the city and county for those exact purposes, to say that we are good with the Form 2s that are going to be submitted to DCA, and then authorizing the mayor and chairperson to sign those and submit them.
Make a motion to approve.
We have a motion approved by Commissioner McCord, second by Mr. Tinsley. Any other discussion? All in favor, please signal by saying aye. 0. Congratulations.
I think at this point, we do not need to take this.
Wait,
I make a motion that we adjourn.
We have a
say.
motion from Mr. McCord, second by Ms. Flowers. All in favor, please signal by saying aye. Y'all have a safe weekend, staff. Congratulations. Staff,
Thank y'all so much.
it's been a seamless process.
Very simple.